Welcome to the first Pigcast. Pigcast is my podcast, and we are going to talk about game development with people that actually make games. So, in this first episode, we are going to talk with Joseph Manley. Joseph, please introduce yourself. Awesome. Let me just see with the chat if we are actually getting this. If they are actually getting the voice correct. Let's see with the chat. Just to get some feedback. I'm not hearing a thing. Okay. Let's do this again. I can hear Pigcast. Okay, they could hear me. Could you please introduce yourself again, Manly? Sorry about that. OBS didn't.
Can everyone in chat hear me now? I'm Joseph Manley, and I'm an AWS community builder, and I contribute to open source games from time to time. The most recent one, big one, has been Tetraforce, which is a Zelda multiplayer game. I've been doing some of these like server-side networking, cloud development, build automation, that kind of stuff with that. Oh, so I can see you on stream now. So I can't see you on Discord, but I can see you on.
Yeah. So, this is a very, how can I say that? This is just a chat. We are going to chat a bit about game development, how is your vision for the future, all sort of stuff related to games. So, let's start with how did you end up with making games? How did you end up here in game development?
It just kind of fell into it. It's not really kind of a funny story. It just kind of happened. So when I was very young and I first got into programming, I was 9 when I built my first like PHP website. And before that, I was even making games in like Scratch, and it was like the soccer demo stuff. And then as I started getting older, I started messing with GameMaker, and then when I was I think 16, I started getting really into Unity, and over the last 2 years or so, I've been poking around with the Godot community and having tons of huge blast. So it kind of just happened. It was just a hobby that I kept doing, and it kind of brought me to where I am now.
Nice. So, how old are you? Just so we can remember, because this sound, I don't remember a Scratch like in the past 10 years.
Yeah, it was like I was in my, but I don't know, probably like 7 or something. I'm currently 20.
20? Very young.
Yeah, I am young. I've done a lot for my age.
Yeah, really, you really did. So, you told that you started with Scratch, and then you started with playing with GameMaker and ended up with Godot.
Yeah.
Godot has something that you really like. I think that being open source, probably.
Oh yeah. The big things that brought me to Godot were it was open source, and the fact that it had a scripting language that was similar to Python, which is kind of what I use professionally. So the idea that it was a lot simpler and I could write like smaller scripts faster was super nice. And then if I still needed like the power of compiled language, C# was still right there. And like open source is amazing, and I love that it's open source. But if you like put that aside for a moment, like that's the having a really easy to use scripting language and a really fast compiled language. I mean, even with like including GD native, that's just really something only Godot has, and there's no comparison out there.
Now, I didn't ever try to make like those benchmarks or stuff like this? Because I don't know. I don't believe that I will make a game that would take that much of resources.
Oh, yeah.
So I really need to stretch everything and try to squeeze the GPU for that. But I think that I
Yeah.
heard that Godot is really fast for its purpose. Talking about
Yeah, and I think
Oh.
the team's trying to make it even faster too, which is always amazing.
How about your daily? Because you told us that you make games for a hobby, at least for now,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
could you talk more about your daily job or how's your going in your official
Yeah,
career?
so my official career is a lot more boring, but it gives me a lot of skills that I bring back to game development.
Mm-hmm.
So I work as a like, doing like cloud consulting for a consulting company, and most of our clients are in the financial industry. So banks, mostly banks, some like stock websites. Um, we kind of go in and we kind of look at how their cloud infrastructure is and secure it, automate it, kind of bring in it to a modern DevOps cycle.
DevOps. I think that this is a
Yeah,
very key word.
yeah. It's one of those buzzwords, but it's a buzzword that's been around for a while. Um, mm,
So I'm very unaware of what actually DevOps is. Actually, I know that there is something
yeah,
related to continuous integration and development, right? But could you
yeah,
like introduce this topic for us? I believe
yeah.
that. Mm,
So there's a lot of different definitions of it. There's some very like specific definitions that open it up to pretty small communities. And then there's other companies that are like, we have a Jenkins pipeline, so we're a DevOps company, which I don't think is necessarily true. Um, uh, so I think like there's like the practical definition, and then there's like the cultural definition of
mm,
DevOps. The cultural definition would kind of be like your developers and your ops people are on the same team, they're working on the same project, so everyone is there from beginning to end. So and it's never if it do, you know if it doesn't work in dev, it'll it's dev's responsibility and it's ops responsibility because it's the same team. It's the
mm.
DevOps team.
Uh,
On a practical point, it's the idea that you can have automated processes from dev all the way to production, using like a very similar environment, a very similar workflow with very little changes.
uh, I'm not very familiar with the word ops. This is the operational
Okay.
side of the enterprise or the company,
Yeah.
like
So
delivering
the ops
stuff.
is they're the people that like have like they have like their cloud server or their VM server, and they're the ones that get that take like if like for example if it's a WordPress site, they're the ones that install WordPress on the server, and then take in the plugins, add in the plugins, and then make sure that that's secure, make sure only certain ports are open. Those are people are generally considered ops.
Mm. So
Business.
they're not at the development of the actual app, but they have
Yeah.
like they are all the way into the production and the delivery of the product.
Yeah, and they're always, they're kind of maintainers, but they don't
Mm.
touch the code.
Okay,
Um,
I think I
and in some cases, they are actually maintaining the application. Like the application gets no more updates, but they still have to make sure it runs on like the most modern stuff. And that's why you can see a lot of like enterprises having a lot of weird problems when it comes to like moving over to the cloud.
cloud development is something that seems like grow up like really fast, right? I think that I first heard of like cloud actually in like 5 or 7 years ago, and now it's just like big thing now, cloud development and stuff like this.
Yeah,
I don't even know what this means. I don't even know how a cloud works, to be very honest. All these things
yeah,
are like a hidden, forbidden knowledge for me, to be very honest.
yeah. Yeah, that's it kind of blows a lot of people away. But it's really very simple. It's somebody else's computer. and you have an API to interact with it. So like instead of having to go and buy a big machine and put it into a rack, instead you make an API call to Amazon, and they'll spin you up a virtual machine, and you can SSH into it and do whatever you want to that. That's kind of the basis of cloud, but then it offers additional services like a key file store that you can integrate with your application, or a secrets manager to encrypt and manage your secrets so that they're not just like manually placed on your machines. But the biggest reason a lot of places are moving over to cloud is because you can implement auto scaling and auto configuration, where when you create a machine, it automatically configures itself, so it automatically installs its game server and starts it up, so it's running. And then it will automatically scale based upon that using auto scaling groups. You can scale based upon latency, CPU usage. So you always have an application that's high availability, but you're not paying for the maximum amount of servers you use in a day.
Does that have something to do with like Docker and those? Things?
Yeah. So Docker is containerization. It's a really useful way for deploying applications. So instead of having your entire operating system and sending that out to Amazon or to Azure or to wherever you want to deploy it, you can just take your application, take what and it's configured, send that to Kubernetes or Amazon ECS.
We had a small delay on your mic. I think that it was on my side. So just before you finished your sentence about Amazon does not require that they set up everything. You can pass. I think that the image, right? The Docker image.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the Docker image is just a container of your application. So instead of having the entire operating system, you just have what's needed to get your application to run, and it will. So if you send that out to Amazon or Azure or Kubernetes, maybe even on like I have some Raspberry Pi that run Kubernetes, so I can run containers here at home. So you can just send that out to your whatever container orchestration you have. Instead of downloading the entire operating system and configuring it, it'll just take that container and what's needed and run your application there. So that could be, some people get it down to literally just your application and there's no operating system, which is kind of crazy. But you can get down to like such a low level.
I bet that Emacs users will probably do something like this. Do you experiment with making this kind of development with games? We'll get to the actual deployment that you make, which I find amazing, the CI tool that you made for Godot. Yeah. But do you believe that this is a good scenario for game development, like using this cloud development?
Yes, I think cloud development. I mean, it's there's some major problems with it, but it's definitely looking like it's going to be the future of games. Not even just game. Well, just technology in general of server side hosting. We're pretty much already there. I think like half the internet goes through cloud providers like Amazon and Microsoft at this point, which is, there's some like ethical concerns there. But it shows that how useful the services have been. In specific respect for games, there's a lot of really nice additional benefits. Like, for example, if you wanted to create an MMO right now, you would have to host it in Brazil from your house, or maybe go rent out a server box nearby and hook up your server there. So that means that anyone in the United States, anyone in Europe, anyone over in Asia, they're going to have really high latency trying to connect to that. But if they're in, but if you have like you're using the cloud, you can use the Amazon Center in Asia, you can use the Amazon Center in Europe, you can use the Amazon Center in South America, and therefore you can use the servers that are more closer to your users and have lower latency. on the like build automation and deployment side, there's a lot of cool things you can do there with games, from automated testing. I have a GitHub action for running gut tests for Godot. So if you
That would be
so
interesting.
so if you want to start running unit tests, what you can do is you can plop that into your repo, and anytime you make a push to the repo, it'll run the tests, and it'll give you a little green checkbox or red X. And what that allows you to do is a lot really big for kind of like QA and making sure that you have clean code. Because if like, and it's really nice for open source projects too, because if someone makes a change to the code, before you even open up their project or the PR, you'll know if those tests passed or not, if their project is running as expected, at least with these functions.
Mm-hmm. Unit tests are really interesting, especially for applications. I think that they got like the amount of applications that we have for especially mobile I think that is due to unit tests. I've been following some trend. I don't know if we can call this a trend on the side that games as a service. So
games.
So games as a service, I believe that they try to make many updates and stuff like this, and probably will broke the application at some point. So with unit tests, we could like deliver a reliable application fast and every time.
Yeah, more reliable, because unit tests test for specific things. Generally, they test at a very low level. You can add integration tests as well, which are kind of like overarching tests, which are generally they're like, here's our game server, and let's poke all the endpoints and see if anything breaks. There's a lot of different testing's like a huge field within itself.
I imagine.
That's why QA engineers are a thing, and they'll probably be a thing for a lot longer. But unit testing does give you a lot more stability with your code, because you can know for sure these certain things work, and a big one is you know that your code compiled.
At least, right? Let me just drop my mic a bit. Because I was thinking, I was always thinking like game development, especially for indie game development, it makes sense to make quick deliver. You add content on. We've been following a trend of early access, very premature game development, like selling the game even with nothing actually working. And with games like this, like you take a prototype and start to allow the players to test it. It makes a lot of sense to like make quick integration, make quick development, make quick deliver, because you have to deliver fast. People are already paying for your game, so they are expecting it to be complete, right? So how do you see this scenario of like game development with continuous integration, continuous development?
Yeah, so I mean for like early access games and stuff, it's super useful, because you can have your changes out the hour you make them. You can go ahead and create, like, if you're making a platformer and you add a health bar, you can click once you have your entire pipeline set up, you can click your deploy button. We'll run your test. It'll say, everything's kind of working as expected, and then you can make that risk and say, hey, my tests are working. It worked locally, so I'm just gonna send it out there for the early access people to test it out. And you click that button, and it's right there, right all the way out there. And for smaller projects, it's nearly instant. It's not even within the hour. It's within minutes.
I can see that, like, really, it brings the players. I think that this will bring players closer to the developers, because like imagine making a report for like, hey, this is not working. I don't, or actually QA. I would really QA. Sorry.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate if this health bar would be like this instead of that. Would be discrete instead of continuous, something like this. and the developer could just okay, let's make your wish come true. So one button away from the report seems like something that will really bring the especially in the game development a step
Mhm.
a step further.
Yeah, it's for stuff like that. It also opens up the door to like A/B testing as well. It makes that
Mm.
whole lot easier because you can send out different builds to different users, and depending on feedback, you can kind of decide which build is the one you want to go with. And that's a lot easier if you're getting out builds faster.
Yeah, have you heard about game analytics already?
I'm familiar with game analytics. I haven't done a whole lot with that, but I've done general analytics for
Mm.
uh,
But a lot of
for
stuff.
non-game stuff.
So maybe they. I think that they are experimenting with A/B tests already. So
Mhm.
I think that what you said will be is a very close future. Maybe
Yeah,
some people are already
it's
making something like this.
yeah. Well, it's already here for
Mm.
certain services. Like if you, I believe Azure PlayFab, which is like their uh, uh, Microsoft's cloud gaming platform. I believe they already have like A/B testing as a service, like out of the box. You don't even have to really do anything. You can kind of just set it up to do that. Um, and I know this is mostly a Godot kind of space, but in the Unity world, the Unity Cloud has A/B testing built in
Mm.
using the Unity Cloud stuff, where you can literally go in and you can have certain values change on different machines, and you can look at like metrics feedback from like how efficient the game ran, were there any crashes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Right.
can imagine like a designer getting those analytics like, hey, people are dying too much on this boss, so let's make two builds. One where the boss has less health, but it stays the same difficulty, and one that
Yeah.
the boss is kind of dumb, but
Mhm.
has other statuses the same. So
Yeah.
let's see how they behave with these two builds. Man, this sounds like amazing. I really start to trip on those kind of possibilities.
Yeah, it's a lot of really cool stuff. I'm sure there's some package out there for Godot to kind of get started with this already. Um, but it's really not super hard stuff to implement. Really, you just need some sort of like variable like or really a dictionary store that gets just updated by a server. So you just hit it. There's a server out there on either on the cloud or it could be even your local machine if you're willing to make that risk. Um, and it'll just return some JSON object, and Godot could read in that JSON object and run it. And you could give different users different JSON objects.
Oh, but
Um,
this would run like on the server side, right? So the server will
yeah.
provide like
So
this database with two possibilities of.
yeah. So yeah, for this one way, yeah, one way of doing it is with that. Yeah, and of course, all the other way with just sending out completely different builds, is the alternative. Yeah, which is that's just another level.
So talking about builds, finally we reached that point. Man, you did an amazing tool that allow us for. I would like you to explain everything. Please introduce your CDCI. Can we say like this?
Yeah, yeah, I can talk about the Godot CICD tools I've built.
Yeah,
So they're
please.
yeah, so I built a build Godot action and a push to itch action and a run gut test action, which are all part of like a suite for running CI/CD for Godot on GitHub Actions. Um, and pretty much what that means for people not super familiar with CI/CD or GitHub Actions is that means that there's a little, you can add a little config file into your GitHub repo, and it will allow you to automatically run your unit tests like once you push, automatically build it and automatically push it to itch. So pretty much what you can have it set up so whatever is on your master branch of GitHub is what's currently live on itch.io.
Let me see if I can open the repository just so we can have um, a quick sight of that, because man, I find this amazing because you actually pick the very I would call the major indie game development platform, which is itch, among like
Yeah.
many other platforms. Like, is it possible to make this in Steam, for instance?
I'm like 99% sure it's possible with Steam. I just don't have I don't have any Steam published games to test it out on, for to like build out a tool. But I'm pretty sure I could just I can make one with
No,
the
but
Steam
you made a
CLI.
good choice. You made a good
Alright.
choice
Oh
of
yeah, yeah,
choosing
that's what I'm
itch.
saying. Okay. Yeah, I like Itch. It's a lot more usable for, and this is targeting, I built it for honestly myself for doing game jams. Um, so and most game jams are in Itch. So
And it really makes a lot of sense because thinking about it, what we can make is like, oh, we are actually just going to create the first repository, the first um, initial version of the game, and especially for game jams, you can keep iterating on it, especially working with like the. Let me just see if I can find this. Uh, you can like working with your teammates. Someone can like make a quick like a small tweak on the game and already deliver the next build to the game jam.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's really really cool in that sense. So it's not even just with kind of pushing it to Itch for the game jam, so it's live. It's also so. I mean, if you're working on a team of the game jam, I'm sure everyone's experienced it, where everyone's working on different things and nobody knows what kind of the state of the game is right now. Like they saw their friend on Discord say that they have movement working, but they never saw it work. They never got to actually test it.
Yeah.
Like it could be working, but like everyone could be moving 1 pixel per second, which that's probably not what you want. Um, but with like this automation stuff, you can have your friend can say, "Hey, I got motion working," and then you can go, "Oh, cool, let me download it." You click download, or you can have it with just the HTML version. So you just click the play button on itch, and there you are testing your game with the latest version.
Yeah, and I think that some game jams on itch don't allow you to make updates on the how's it called, on the judgment phase, something like this. I don't remember. But yeah, if you push the game and the judge already start to judge your game, you can push a new updated version. So it already happened to me that I had a version fixed with all the everything fixed already on my computer, but I forgot to push it to it. So with something like this kind of uh, person, my kind of
Yeah.
person, wouldn't run into this kind of situations, where you actually is being judged by something that could be on a better that has a better version for testing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a situation that happens all the time. But I mean, you're not alone. Pretty much the entire development world has that issue. Well, like in games, out of games, like indie, non-indie. I'm sure Google and
Oh,
Amazon have hit the issue where they've, oh, why isn't it working? I forgot to push it.
how about those? Do you know that? Do you know if any of those big AAA companies are working with this kind of deployment already, or is it too risky for them? Yeah.
I can tell you that if I know that Amazon and Microsoft are kind of the leaders, I guess, in the CICD world of like especially I mean in cloud. Amazon is cloud, Google is cloud, Azure Microsoft is cloud. They are the cloud providers. If they didn't exist, there would be no cloud because there has to be the somebody paying for the millions of machines that people get to rent out.
But I
Like
mean like
for
oh
and for like and for like GitHub. I mean, GitHub's owned by Microsoft. It's literally kind of just a wrapper around what's called Azure DevOps, which is their cloud solution. And for kind of the CI/CD process in games, I can tell you that there's a lot of games companies out there that are hiring DevOps engineers and cloud engineers, and kind of trying to get their hands into like in DevOps automation stuff. Um, games is kind of all over the place when it comes to the automation side of things because there's a lot of engineers in games, there's a lot of artists in games, there's a lot of designers in games, and there's a lot of mixed. And because of that, it sometimes the DevOps cloud stuff is just something that kind of gets forgotten about, because it's a niche, it's a specialty. Um, it's sometimes why you don't have an environmental artist or a technical artist on your team. It's not because it's not important. It's just because your resources are focused elsewhere,
mhm.
and it's just kind of put to the side.
Yeah, between like an environment artist with is something very very specific and very very specialized. You can hire like
Mhm.
a general artist and get the
Yeah,
environment that you something that you can deliver actually. Just something that you
yeah,
can deliver instead of like the best you can deliver. Yeah, it's more about using the resources wisely.
yeah, and yeah. So like same thing happens with like a DevOps engineer. Sometimes you just hire just a general programmer and he's kind of in charge of your entire code repository, or you kind of just designate somebody on your team to say, hey, make sure builds are working, or you sometimes they even give it to QA, and like QA is in charge of like the entire process, and that can be a rough time because once it gets to QA, and if the QA has broken code, they're just gonna start sending that back to dev when the problems begin.
Is it like is it how can I say that? Is it easy to hire someone to make the implementation of those automations, these deployment automations, in the middle of the project, like punctual? Is that how you call it? Like just one mission. Like they made one mission and made the
Mhm.
implementation and can follow their lives already. You know, they
Yeah.
don't have to stay with the project since the beginning and until the end of the project
Yeah.
to maintain those.
Yeah, so I mean, generally, you want kind of DevOps, build automation, testing. You want that from day one because one of the biggest benefit of having a DevOps pipeline is productivity. Because there's less time focusing on making sure builds work. There's less time testing builds. It's just testing features and kind of moving on. So generally, you want it as early as possible. Um, yeah, but generally, you can wait a while up until you have something working, up until you know that this is something you're going to be working on for a while.
When everything starts
Um,
to burn, you can.
I mean yeah, that's an okay. That's the most often time people start reaching out to
Figured.
the people, but there's generally that's the worst time because then you're paying them to fix your stuff and put in the pipeline. So generally, you either get half the efficiency or you're paying double the cost, um, which isn't what you want. So probably like right before everything starts burning, because if you do it right before everything starts burning, then you get it at you just get it done by if it's a contractor, just a contractor, or a freelancer, whoever you're getting it from if you're indie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the fires start happening, and then you catch the fires immediately because you have a water sprinkler set up.
Everything set up, yeah. uh, Joseph, do you have already some games that you are working in, or do you make the CD CI and stop working on the games?
uh, are you asking whether I build my pipelines before or after I have a game? Um,
No, I just want to see the amazing things that can come out of your head.
Oh,
Besides this amazing tool that you already made, because before you actually joined the chat, we were
yeah.
talking about. Let me just see who say that, but like something like, oh, I met with Joseph in like my server, and he just like jump in and say, "Oh, I will fix every network thing related problem that you got." And I was like, "Man, yeah, this is very Joseph because he made like the same thing with Moon Chaser. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like quite the same thing. I was like, man, this game is broken. The version that I have on GitHub doesn't match the version that I have on each, and you just like, oh, can you give me right access to that? And everything got fixed.
Yeah, I mean, I love helping out people, especially, especially with like open source and stuff. So, if anyone in chat needs help, feel free to reach out to me. Of course, if like trillions of people reach out to me, then the issues might occur. But right now, my inbox is not full. Just, but as for like other projects, I have here's like a Medium article I wrote about Tetraforce, which is what Rohit was talking about in chat when he first jumped in. And this is a if you're familiar with the YouTuber FornClick, this is his multiplayer Zelda game he's been working on for a while. And I came in and I helped build out some CICD pipelines, and I built an API to interact with cloud servers, and I created the infrastructure for that. So pretty much what this allows is it uses just the normal Godot eNet multiplayer, but it has a API that for doing connections, so that if you type in a lobby name, and if it's the same lobby name as another player, you'll both connect to the same cloud server.
Interesting. So, you already work with, you really have this specialization with network already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty heavily focused on like networking and kind of automation as a whole.
Seems like CDCI, DevOps, right? Seems like a good match
yeah.
for you.
Yeah. It's So like networking is kind of where I mean, I can do some non-networking stuff, but I feel a lot more comfortable with doing networking stuff because it's generally something a lot of people have to put more time into figuring out, and so I feel like I'm a lot more useful there, and where I'm more useful, it's a lot easier to get in when everyone's like, oh, thanks, this is helping a ton. Wow, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, this would be completely me, because I'm completely unlettered in anything related to network, even web. I don't know how HTML works and nothing like this, not even network, nothing. So yeah.
Well, once you start going down the rabbit hole, the complexity starts going away, and then it comes back, and then it goes away again. But I'm sure you've seen like the learning curve. That's pretty much networking. It's like, oh, everything's just data packets. Oh, and it's just IP. Oh, it's using some fancy networking thing that goes from switch to switch, and somehow uses some GPG value to decide whether it routes through California or through Texas. And then it's back to kind of just being, oh, I want to go through Texas, so I put in this number.
We were talking with. I was talking with a friend. I think that a month ago, and we were talking about like how object-oriented programming is not very good for networking, and he said something like, you can't send a, because like objects are. I didn't actually got everything right, but objects would be basically just it's a part of the memory, and you can send the instance, which would be memory, through the network.
Yeah.
So you have to serialize that into a package
Yeah.
and send and unserialize that. And I was like, so what should we use instead for networking for games? Because for games, it seems to me that it makes a lot of sense to work with object-oriented design and stuff like this, because game seems to be like a very it seems to be a very useful paradigm to work with games. But when it comes to online games, maybe we should start to think of something else.
It's I mean that's a pretty complicated question.
You don't have to ask that. This is just
well, I can kind of give you my thoughts on it. So like
please.
Like the you cannot send objects. Well, sorry, you can actually send objects over on the network. But it's just going to be a bunch of binary goobly-ga that the server doesn't understand, and if it happens to have like the same object in its memory, so it does understand it, then if you ever update the client, the server will suddenly be invalid, and that's a very big issue. Things are starting to get a little less complicated now that we have like JSON and YAML and that kind of like formatting is becoming the norm, because then we can just instead of sending over entire objects, we can send over a JSON file, like some JSON text, and it can read that JSON text. But that's not as fast as sending over just some binary data. So like if you mess with like the eNet based in well, really, if you use like vanilla eNet, you're still going to be sending over binary data, and you're going to want to be you're going to want to keep that as concise as you can to reduce latency as much as you can. So generally, you'll have like a flag on everything. It's a tough question. I'm definitely not at the point in my career where I can say for matter of a fact you should use object oriented over.
I really think that this will never happen for anyone, because every game will be a game and will run into different situations. But all this discussion was because this friend of mine say that we should start working with functional programming for games, and I was like, man, I don't know how this works, but I think that it makes no sense for games, because I don't think that we could. I think that we can do that. I wouldn't say that it is impossible, but it's just that it's not convenient to work with functional programming from a game development perspective.
Yeah, functional programming is just kind of a little bit. It's not the norm, so I think it has that against it. Is that everyone thinks about once you get to a certain point into programming, you think about, I have my sprite object, and if I change this property, it'll do that. When functional programming just says, ignore all that, do it by hand. When it really doesn't mean do it by hand, it just means instead of creating a property, you create a function, and you pass in an object to a function. Well, not an object, but
data.
Something.
Some data.
A property. Generally, I'm more comfortable with object-oriented myself, so that's...
You're a good person.
It's the norm.
Because you're a good person. You started newbie game developer. You start with some big projects, like making an MMORPG, for instance.
Yeah, right now my father is kind of like he's been playing a lot of EverQuest, and he's like, I can make this, and he's trying to make his own MMO right now.
Yeah, believe in yourself.
If you see this, Dad, I'm calling you out. So MMOs are like the first thing everyone wants to jump into.
Yeah, me included. I remember that. I think that I was 12. Yeah, 12, something like this. And I say to my friend, I was playing like Ragnarok Online. Don't know if you'll ever have any contact with this game. It's very old.
Yeah, I haven't played Ragnarok Online. It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I've played a lot.
You would remember. It's an amazing game. And I was like, man, I think that when I grow up, I will make a game like this. Never even tried to do so.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to the point where developers will just be able to make their own MMO in like a weekend.
One button MMO coming to
Yeah,
Godot
I mean,
when?
well, I mean, like right now, for example, if you wanted to create an MMO 10 years ago, you would have to go and you'd have to create an authentication service where you create the password and usernames. You keep that all secure. You have to deal with that security, and then you also have to deal with the hosting side of things, where you have a server that it can communicate to, and the DDoS protection and all of that.
When
Now,
you reach the point where you would actually have everything set to have a server, a client, and stuff like that, you wouldn't even have content for something like an MMO still. Very complex to work with that.
yeah. Yeah, sorry, I kind of got thrown off there. What did you say?
No. I was saying that even from what you were saying, like you have to set up a server, you have to set up all of these networking.
Yeah.
This part is very very hard. I can imagine, but like the to have like one character punching a enemy, you would like have to.
Oh yeah.
Would work with C, which is very very slow to develop. You have to have a lot of libraries to detect collisions, stuff like this. It's not it's not something simple.
Yeah. So but things keep getting easier. I mean, like for if you want to create some sort of server authentication now, you can just use OAuth and pick one. I don't know. You want to use Google Firebase, you can use Google Firebase. You want to use Amazon Cognito, you can use Amazon Cognito. You want to use Auth0, you can use Auth0. There's a like so many options out there now, and they're just growing every day. And the same thing's kind of happening when it comes to like game engines. I mean, 10 years ago, something like Unity was kind of crazy.
It was right. Actually, I think that Unity is like 15 or more years old. So when it popped out on the market, it was like, man, we can make games that easily now, and it wasn't even easy. Like I remember switching from Unity to Godot because back then, you had to like code the whole interface. Like you had to say, oh, at this point on the screen, it will have a rectangle with this side, and I was like, man, this is so hard. Why do you make things so hard? And with Godot, I had like just like a button node, and I was like, man, if I click this, I can actually make it work. It was like amazing. So yeah, this what you said is very very true. I think that at some point we'll have like an engine that is specialized on making MMORPGs, and you just have to like change the name, change some statuses, some calculations, some formulas for the damage, and there you have it.
Yeah, imagine a future where asset flips are now MMOs.
Yeah, imagine a future like this. Oh, talking about that, had you heard about artificial intelligence that is made to create RPGs, just text RPGs, and I think that is based on this GPT-3 artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Had you already heard about it?
Are you talking about like AI Dungeon?
Yeah, AI Dungeon. Yeah. That's the one. Had you played it?
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Very, very addicting too. Though it gets very surreal real quick.
That's the problem. You have to tweak. You have to squeeze it a bit. Like, no, you shouldn't be going into that direction. But had you heard about the Art Breeder or something like this? I think that's Art Breeder, where you
Art
can.
Breeder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched. I remember watching a GDC talk about a year ago about like using ML to generate like game art.
Yeah, so I was thinking about making that in real time. Like you wouldn't even have to to design anything. You just like have the AI to do all of those things in real time. So one AI would send like, oh, could you make like an environment with some landscape and some mountains and a lake there? And the art breeder would like, yeah, okay, there you have it. You know, imagine a future like this, man, where you can just press a button and you have art, you have music. I don't know any AI that actually composes music, but
Yeah. They exist. They exist.
yeah, probably, there probably exists. But yeah, I think that this future where you have to focus more on the design, where you have to just have the click of, oh, I think that I can make an MMORPG about like pandas and bears and stuff like this, and you just have to tell the artificial intelligence what you want to create, and boom, you will have.
Yeah. That's that. I think that I don't know how likely that is in our lifetime. Because I think in our lifetime we're still gonna have like at least human assisted AI. But I mean, you would think like in 1,000 years, it'd be definitely something we have on the table.
Do you think that it would take that long?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. Just the generally from what I've seen with machine learning, it's very good at solving a very specific problem, but it doesn't seem very good at like the
General
the
problems.
multitasking. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like if you give it a general prompt like make an MMO about bears and pandas, there's a lot to do with that.
Mhm.
And because I don't think this would be an AI algorithm that's independent. It would be like a bunch of AI algorithms cobbled together to make it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think that we will ever have maybe I can be proven wrong here, but I don't think we'll have a ML algorithm that's been tested off the binary files of millions of MMO games to generate MMO binaries.
Hmm. Maybe we could make it watch like 10,000 hours of World of Warcraft, probably, and figure things out. But yeah, I think that artificial intelligence would be something that will also give us pretty cool tools to at least, as I say, generate some, just like a small part of the game, just create some assets here and there, fill this storyline here with something, just fill the gaps probably.
Yeah, or for like take something like I mean we can take music or voice acting, like voice lines, like like sometimes you want like an announcer voice in your game, and I was actually thinking about writing up a Medium article, making a Odyssey video or something on it of there's this service in Amazon called Amazon Poly, and it's like that text to speech you hear on like every Twitch stream ever.
Hmm.
That's what that is. You can literally enter whatever you want. They just released a bunch of new ones that are ML backed, and they sound a lot better. And you can get some if you had some like special effects that are just like the ones built into Godot. You can kind of make some really cool like announcer sound like voices and stuff without actually having to do
To hire.
anything into a microphone.
Mm-hmm. Sounds crazy. And it's very empowering to be right here at this moment where we are getting all of this stuff. Like, as I said, imagine if we were living in the 80s, like trying to make a game, a simple game like, let's see, let me see, on
Visual Basic time.
like Flappy Bird. Imagine being
Oh my God.
a single engineer, like a single programmer, trying to make Flappy Bird works. Like I don't even think that this would be possible back then.
Yeah, not to like the same extent, not with like the same effects and everything. You could probably make some sort of
Mm-hmm.
low res sprite that goes up and down, but it's probably going to be a little more staggered, and it's probably not going to have the same special effects. It's probably not going to have the same parallax background.
Yeah, for instance, parallax, as far as I could research, I don't actually research that, but I see a lot of videos saying like, oh, the complexity of parallax back in the Nintendo
Yeah.
era, in the Super Nintendo era, and I was like, man, it was that hard to make something like this. Like, imagine making a
Yeah.
parallax effect, like being a single person making a parallax effect for a game in the 80s.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, that'd be.
it's amazing that,
Well,
for instance,
even more insane is something like a noise map. Like people are still today like blowing up about how cool like Mario Galaxy's water effect is when it's literally just a noise map. You know?
yeah, like, game development is going in a really good direction. And
Mhm.
just so we can go back to the topic, right?
That's all.
And I think that with the implementation and with the, how can I say that, like with more people using the CI tools the one that you have, it will be
Mhm.
much easier to keep increasing the complexity of the indie games, because it's
Yeah.
easier to deploy it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and another thing that I didn't mention, that's kind of really important with especially indies, is the fact that you're using Git and the fact that you can version your things. So, like, if you broke your game, you can just go back to before you did that. I mean, in the days of old, if you broke your things are on fire, your game's broken, you might have to redo an entire portion. Uh,
Yeah. But,
but
imagine when we used cartridge. How can you fix
oh my
something
gosh,
like that, right? I
like,
think that they made. I don't even know how they fixed that, because I remember that they sold. They had like those cartridge that one fit on top of the other to like have some expanded version of the game. But I don't know that they made
mhm.
patches for fixing something like a bug. So imagine the production time of a game that was supposed to be delivered on cartridge.
Oh my,
Just
yeah,
insane.
there's so many like issues with like. I'm very glad that we have the internet now because like you can release your game with a game breaking bug, and it's just there for till end of time. And you can see that with like any speed run ever, you know. Um,
Exploiting
and
that.
yeah, yeah, beating Halo in like what's it, 6 minutes or something? That's insane. um, but not now. For I mean, when it comes to speed runs, it's it kind of takes away a little bit of the fun. Um, but when it comes to like actual gameplay that's used, especially for like competitive play, it's really nice to be able to push out fixes generally as they happen, as you hear about
Yeah,
them.
I think that it's common nowadays to have like what they call how's they call day one patch, something like this.
Yeah,
Like they launch the game and hey, we have a fix. You have to download the patch right now. So
yeah,
yeah, it's been quite quick to actually give a quality game to players, and
yeah.
keep. We talk about like bug fixing and patching and stuff like this and having
Mhm.
errors, but from perspective of features is from my perspective, I think that being able to push features like as quick as you can, keep increasing
Yeah.
the value of the game is also a very nice a valuable thing to have in hand. Especially like for instance, one of the business model that I want to test out is like having my patrons and having
Mhm.
like a game where we can keep developing together, and like a week, like every week have an update, feature update, something like this, to be able to like have a quick workflow where you can a very quick pipeline where you can press a button, deliver, and
Mhm.
make the devlog and have something for the patrons like instantly, will like decrease the amount of time that you need to have a business model like this.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it definitely helps for anything that you want to get in front of people fast. It does that and it does that well. And there's even for the thing I set up for you, I think it takes like 10 minutes to build and push and everything. There's ways to reduce that even more, and especially for larger projects, like there's ways where you can cache certain parts of your build so that it's not constantly rebuilding those parts, so you're still so you can have a 2 gig project that's getting built in only 20 minutes and getting released within in two more. um, and getting for something like kind of getting out the Patreons, people to be able to see, to be able to kind of give feedback on. I mean, that's kind of the my phone's going off. 1 second.
No problem.
Apologies, I turned it off.
No problem. But especially with Itch, which is the best platform for indie game.
Yeah.
Since they have like this Itch app, which downloads the most updated version of the game, delivering and downloading will be like very quick. John, you were talking about a project that you were working on, a online project, a network project.
The Tetraforce. I think
Tetraforce, yeah.
I sent you a link. I can put it in the chat to like
Please.
the Medium post, which kind of has like the more readable version. There's like an actual game download. There you go. This is the Medium post there. That's just kind of generally talking about like the server infrastructure. I don't know if I talk about like the CICD. I don't talk about CICD in here. But I do talk about like the cloud stuff, and there is a CI/CD portion. I think I do have something on that as well. Maybe not. Here's the repo. Post the repo in chat.
Let me see. On Discord.
Sorry, that's not that. The not Discord, the YouTube chat. There you go. I can post in Discord chat too. There you go.
Let me copy. Can I paste that on the live chat?
Yep.
There you go.
I think I beat you.
Okay. So, what about this game? Could you talk about it a bit?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's an open source project started by Foreign Clake, who's another kind of Godot centric YouTuber.
Godot-centric.
Fancy influencer. But it's Zelda multiplayer game. It's kind of in the realm of like was it Link to the Past kind of with art style inspired by and all that. Though technically not technically, just flat out not affiliated with Nintendo or whatever and everything. All the legal guru, whatever. But this is up and play. I mean, there's a demo. Well, not a demo, but there's a playable version that's released very often on our on the GitHub repository. Not the one I list for the infrastructure, but actually I think people might be more interested in the actual Godot project. So I'll
Oops, we are having some
you as well.
Issues with the audio. Oh, okay, we are back. Did you send it already? Okay, so let me copy the link.
Yeah.
Okay. So seems like a very good project already. Seems like it is on its shape already.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's been going into it, and it's getting pretty far. The cloud infrastructure side of things is pretty much ready to go. If you download the development build off GitHub right now, you can log on to a cloud server, play with your friends right now. It's really just iterating on gameplay features and it's at the point where we're just adding features. Everything's up and working.
Take
It
care with feature creep.
uses the CICD. Sorry,
Take care with
my
feature
internet cut out
creep.
again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So right, I think like right now, one of the things I'm working on like my side of the project is I'm trying to add in some sort of authentication platform, so that like players can have like unique skins based upon the pay what based upon like a Patreon tier, um, and so that's kind of going on like the cloud side coming up. Like if you go into the game right now, there's a few base skins, but they want to add the development team wants to add more, so I'm trying to be able to create some sort of like in-game API platform so they can do that. The entire project's using those like CI/CD methods I was mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
where it runs a build and it pushes it. This doesn't push to itch, unfortunately. It just pushes to our website at the moment. I think they've discussed putting it on itch, but it's just not there yet. But it also pushes like the latest build, the nightly build, straight to GitHub, so you can go download that anytime. And in fact, that's what we've been using for the longest time for testing, is just using whatever was on the latest of the master branch.
You had you read about those? It was a premium sponsor of Godot, Engine Network, Engine Coin. They have something like similar with what you were talking, but they don't have it based on Patreon tiers. But instead, they
Okay.
have like. Had you read about the purpose?
I've not looked into them specifically. I've looked get them out into like Heroic Labs and their
Mm.
online platform,
Mm-hmm.
but none of the other Godot sponsors, unfortunately.
Mm.
Oh, definitely
Yeah,
something on my do list now,
Heroic
though.
Labs is a very cool sponsor as well. But yeah, the idea of this engine network is that they tokenize game items. So they put the
Okay.
items on the blockchain. So the idea is that you can have like shared universe, and people.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so based on the what you have, like the token that you have, you can have like an item that is meant to be like a sword or like a spear in a game set up in the, I don't know, Jurassic era, and then you can have like a cyberpunk sword in the game setup in the in the cyberpunk setup. So using the same token. So the idea is that you can create like this sort of stories where it starts with a game back with a background story that has nothing to do with the next game, and you can keep creating this shared universe, and between game studios as well, so they can both have the same token but being two different things. But I was
That's
saying,
really cool.
I talk about that because something that you said is that like the players would have something the item right based on
Hmm.
the tier, and it popped in my mind something like very similar, like, oh, based on your weight or something like this, your
Hmm.
character on this game will be like this, and people can share the items since they can basically say sell the token, right? So they can
Hmm.
like uh, have a internal economy that is very uh, heat up, like sending
Hmm.
these
Yeah, that's
these items.
that's definitely an interesting solution, and using uh what do you call them? You
Blockchain.
said it. Sorry. Yeah, that's a interesting solution. I'm not sure if that's specifically what we want to go with, because I think it's like like you have like the tier and then you unlock all of the
Mm-hmm.
skins and you kind of get to choose one. But I mean, I can definitely forward that on to the rest of the team. I'm not really the decision making person there. I just help out. I do the cool cloud stuff. And,
The cool clouds.
yeah, I mean, I do end up having a lot to say over that. But because I'm the one like working on it, pushing it forward, and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, uh, But yeah, I can forward the idea over to everyone. I'm sure some of them are here in the
Yeah,
chat. So
maybe this idea won't fit the purpose. I think that
yeah,
it won't, but yeah, is interesting to see that there are already
yeah,
games that could fit this purpose.
yeah, yeah. That's very that's really cool to hear. I think using like persistence based upon blockchain is really cool. I want to see more of it. Um, and I kind of get a little nervous of it though, because like it's very it's very untested.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see like some new variation of like the microtransaction crisis.
Yeah, their main purpose was actually, as I said, to have persistency, because what they proposed was like, hey, people invest so much in a game, like especially on online games, and if the company decides to not keep up with the game, people lose a lot of investment there. So the idea is that at some point, if you don't want to play the game in the engine blockchain, you can melt the item and get some engine coins back. So you can basically just have some of your investment back, or you can get some money like in fiat coin and just transfer the token to another person and get your investment back, or get even more than what you invested, right? So this is what they tried to actually say, which was something that I was thinking about doing as well, but like having games instead of just items. So the token will be for the game, the whole game. But don't think that I will go with that direction. It's too complex for me.
Yeah, that all sounds very interesting, but it's very much out of my knowledge, guys.
Yeah,
It's definitely. Though the concept sounds very interesting. It's probably something at least go read a little bit more about.
yeah. I think that the next generation of game developers will probably explore this a lot more than me, for instance. But yeah, for now, I think that this is, as you said, out of my knowledge. Unfortunately,
Okay.
because I love blockchain, I love everything related to it.
Yeah,
Joseph,
I definitely like the security and everything of it.
yeah, the security part is the most beautiful thing about blockchain, and it's actually what makes it even beautiful is it's decentralized, right? So if you don't believe
Oh
that
yeah.
this is what it should be, download it and like see it for yourself. This is what should happen. If you doubt about what we are proposing, what we are trying to do, download the blockchain and see by yourself.
Yeah, the only like big problem of blockchain is the opposite of that, which is unfortunately something I advocate for, which is the cloud, which is centralized servers. Everything goes through Amazon, everything goes through Microsoft. They're both the future.
Yeah, I think that they serve
So
different purposes, so both are very
yeah,
valuable for different purposes.
yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap though, and like where is that overlap going to go? Like for example, like the blockchain is based upon a shared registry of some sort, and if that registry is only stored on Amazon.com, then really Amazon.com has control of it rather than it being completely
Yeah.
decentralized as it should be. So I'm very curious what the future is for that, because especially with Amazon and Microsoft and Google investing massively into blockchain services. Like if you want to create your own blockchain, you can. There's like a GUI on like the Amazon Cloud Console. Like if you go to the Amazon Cloud Console, you can just click create blockchain. You can do it just right there.
Okay. Is that easy to create a blockchain nowadays? Back in my time.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it by scratch. Like it's way out of
I
my
have no idea as well.
memory, but the fact that you can just do it in a button click on Amazon has full control of it.
Yeah, that's kind of ninja. But can't you just like download the whole thing and get it into your local server?
Oh yeah. I'm sure there's ways to kind of extend it outside
Mm,
of Amazon. And I think that's where the strength of blockchain is.
mm-hmm,
My just concern they're saying is that as less and less servers are owned by people and more of them are owned by Amazon and Google and Microsoft, where
mm,
like there's three companies or maybe four or five, only a handful that are going to have most of the computational resources. By default, more stuff's going to be hosted there. So I'm just, that's only like
yeah, that's very
adversarial thing I see.
concerning. No, that's very concerning, indeed. Because yeah, as you said, if even if you have like a blockchain which the purpose is to be decentralized, but you are hosting
Mhm.
it on one of those four, five, maybe,
Yeah,
hosting services, is not decentralized. You're like,
yeah,
uh, you're not
yeah. It's
doing.
decentralized on multiple services. I mean, you could put it one on Google, one on Amazon, one on
It's not like
Oracle.
having. It's not like with Bitcoin, for instance, that you can literally have it on your computer and you are part of the network. So
Yeah,
uh, I don't actually know if, for instance, if this
yeah.
computer is hosting or is being hosted by Google or something like this. But
Mhm.
still, if I want to like take out
Yeah,
the wires and just like have the Bitcoin network here, I can do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean the only problem with like having like your machine on that network is the same problem that it has with Tor, and it's
Hmm.
I'm not sure how it is in Brazil, but
It's very slow.
if you're on the Tor, if you're on Tor here in the United States, and sometimes you'll get like mail or from the government asking you to stop. Um,
Never got one of those.
so like because like they can tell you're connected to the Tor network. They don't know what you're
Hmm.
doing on it, but they can tell you're connected to it.
And if you are connected,
And
you are doing something
it's,
that you're hiding,
so
right?
so I think the same thing's going to be applicable to like blockchain, like where
Hmm.
they're not going to know you're on it. Sorry, they're not going to know what you're doing with it, but they're going to know you're on it
In
and
it.
you're
Hmm.
providing part of the registry.
Yeah. Hmm. They're spying
That's
on us.
that's like a world, like this is like the equivalent of like how do you save the world question. So just
Yeah.
throw definitely a bar question,
Yeah. Still, but at least we have the technologies nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. We're we're going forward, whatever it is.
We are making progress. We are going there.
Yeah.
So, Joseph, we are getting into the end of the stream, unfortunately. Um, do you have anything to say? Do you have any project that you want to show besides the Tetraforce, which sounds to be amazing? I really got the reference, the Tetraforce.
Yeah.
What is the fourth force?
Uh, I don't know. You're gonna have to ask the designers there.
Okay, okay.
But I really appreciate for you having me on for the first of that, which is
Yeah,
crazy. I really appreciate it. Um, like if people want to check me out, I'm on Twitter at Joseph B Manley, and I'm on GitHub as well. And I think Odyssey and Library, also
library.
places
Yeah,
where
really cool.
um, yeah. So I have any of the projects that you heard us talk about. I can if you reach out to me, I can kind of throw you in the direction. Um, yeah.
Uh,
Thanks again,
that
Pigcast.
no, the pleasure is totally mine. Thank you so much for accepting the invite. That video about the whole tutorial of the your
Mhm.
GitHub action, Godot
Yeah.
action, is only on library, right? Or
Yeah.
do
It's
you
only
have
on
on?
library.
Yeah, you're a good person. I knew it. I knew it. Just thank you for keeping it there. So I'll put all the links in the pinned comment for your Twitter. For do you want to share your itch as well? Your itch profile?
Yeah, sure. I don't really post super often on that. I can, and it's mostly filled with like quarterly finished stuff. But
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Look, are you joining the GitHub Game of Jam this month?
I am. I have a
Nice.
partially completed thing right now. It's multiplayer. It's has all the DevOpsy stuff going on there.
It's
and I-
amazing. Your
yeah,
projects
so
should, you are saving the projects to that GitHub saving project things on part there. Yeah, that thing that's supposed to save all the projects for the eternity, right?
yeah,
Yeah, thank you, because
Yeah,
your
yeah.
project should be there. It
yeah.
would be awesome
Yeah.
to explore them.
I got the like Arctic Vaults contributor.
Yeah,
little
that thing.
tag.
So, you already put your profile on the chat?
Yep.
Thank you. So, yeah, is that something else?
No, that's all my socials. I'm pretty super active on Twitter. I think my Medium's already there with the Medium post. So, yeah. Thank you, Pigdev, and thank you for everyone
the
who
pleasure
jumped
is
in. You
mine.
should definitely give this guy some Patreon money.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for coming by, for accepting the invite. It was an amazing chat. Thanks so much for being my first guest here, for taking all the risks of not working, of everything that happened. But besides that, it was an amazing talk. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to hear you. And thank you for sharing your profile, because we are definitely going to explore a bit of your projects, especially with Godot. Is it night where you live? Is also night there?
Yeah, it's 6:30 right now.
Oh, 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so good night, good evening. It's starting the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So good evening there. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming by, and keep developing as well. Keep developing.
Definitely
And don't think that this will be the first time that we'll join the Pigcast. Okay, I'm definitely going to invite you again. So that's it.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. So that's it. Thank you so much for the chat, for coming by, for joining us as well. Thank you so much for. I think that we had. Oh, you have to ask one question, because we had a super chat here.
Okay.
So come to Brazil. So Joseph, could you please come to Brazil?
Can I come to Brazil? Maybe after the pandemic, and for a little bit. I don't know. I'm always up to going to foreign countries and exploring.
Nice. If you come by, please give me a heads up. But this was the name of the profile. So
Okay.
come to Brazil. Asked Joseph, what's the color of your soap?
The color of my soap. Okay. We're getting very technical here.
Don't you really don't have to answer that. Jesus.
I mean, I gotta give the people what they want. I use like an ivory color, like the white yellowish soap. Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Is that like a inside joke or?
No, I don't even know why this person asked you that. But yeah, hopefully this is the only super chat that we had. Sorry about that. and thank you so much for answering it. So that's it. We are going out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming by. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Keep developing, and until the next time. So I will stop the stream now. Bye guys.